Excited to be here. I am Yanik, and thanks for joining us.
Okay, so how was your weekend, Ria? Let me start from you.
Oh, my weekend was great. It was good. It was a great one.
Yes, all those that had weddings to attend, or
Yeah,
one birthday party to attend, or
yeah.
one event or the other. I'm sure the weekend,
People who
came through for
got the
us.
opportunity to spend time with family.
With family,
Yeah,
yes, yes. Especially when you know that you work from Monday to Friday,
more like work from Monday to
it's
Saturday.
a Saturday. Anyways, it's a good one. The start of a new week, and I'm sure we are, energized. We have recouped enough to want to conquer our day and make our week and day as well very, very productive. Okay, so a lot has been happening in Nigeria. A lot happened throughout the weekend. But away from all those things that seemingly put us as Nigerians on the edge, we are going to start our trendy conversations this morning from a good note, and that is from the ongoing Commonwealth Games. And we have seen Team Nigeria come out with impressive performances, breaking records and winning medals, something to give Nigeria and Nigerians some ray of hope. Of course, the likes of Toby Amoson with the hurdles, games, Brume coming through for long jump there, Eukaria Iyazi, short puts, and even the 400 relay
Yeah.
race, which saw Team Nigeria come through. It was so beautiful to see, and of course, other events, other track events that we also had gold, silver, and bronze medal. And as it stands right now, Nigeria is actually topping the charts when it comes to the to African countries. We've gone past South Africa. They were the ones leading. They were the African country leading before. But right now, as it stands, of course, Nigeria is on that table as number one. And then on Sunday, of course, we saw the likes of at the Alexander Stadium. We saw the likes of Toby Amosun, Favour, Philly Rose Chukuma, and Grace Nwokocha emerging winner. That's the 4 by
By one.
400 relay race there, and it was so beautiful to see. Of course, they had to put Toby Amosun as
The final leg.
no, she wasn't the final leg. She was the start leg.
Okay,
She was
yeah,
the first
yeah,
leg,
that's true.
and then somebody else completed it. But
Yeah,
it was a beautiful transfer of the
baton.
of the buttons and everything. It was really beautiful to watch. And I also remember that while listening to this particular one, we saw the commentators trying to like talk about what now? Talk
Toby.
about England. No,
Uh,
not even Toby. Talk about England because they were like the defending champions, right?
yeah.
Talked about Jamaica as well. When you talk about these two countries, okay, uh, of course, over time, it's obvious that they have the track and field events when it comes to winning. But for us to see Nigeria come through ahead of countries like England, ahead of countries like Jamaica, it was really, really beautiful. Look at this. Look at the transfer of baton. It was beautiful to see. And in fact, it's on that winning side I came to the studios this morning.
The energy is palpable. Like
I'm
like
telling
the
you.
can-do spirit of Nigerians at the games is actually reaching every one of us,
Yeah,
and
yeah.
they've really been doing well. Coming up with medals and quite a number of gold medals there and all of that. So of course, at the end of the day, you're going to see a lot of strategy in place. Whoever has the best energy, you better put them, on time at the right place. Like you said, I mean, having Toby Omusan, start the 4 by 100 meters race is excellent. She's going to give you a dash in the shortest possible time and let it go to the next person who should keep up the energy. So it's a beautiful one. Nigerians are actually really keeping up the energy
Yeah,
at the
definitely.
Commonwealth Games, and we are expectant of a really joyful return.
Yeah, and
Yeah.
as it stands now, Nigeria stands number one on the medal table.
Yes.
I think with 34 medals so far, 12 gold, 8 silver, and 14 bronze medals, topping the chart ahead of South Africa with 27 medals. And Kenya comes next, and Uganda is fourth, while Cameroon comes fifth on the chart table. And then again, we saw Tobi Amosun on her hurdles game now. She won another gold for Nigeria, aside from the 4x400 meters relay race that was carried out yesterday. We saw Toby Amosun also come through with her hurdles game, and she clinched the gold medal for us in that particular one. I think we have a video to that. We might just see it, but it's beautiful to see. And I think that this is one thing that is giving a lot of Nigerians joy right
Yeah, our
now.
star of the moment.
Yeah, our star of the moment, you see. So it's something that is giving, yes, that's Toby there, doing what she knows how to do best. It's more like Nigerians came prepared, not just Nigerians now, but more like the women in the team Nigeria. They actually came really, really prepared. Look at Toby Amosun. I'm sure maybe she's, having a prayer said in her mind, like, Jesus, come through for me. But it was really
That's some
fantastic
game
to see.
there.
Yes, it was really fantastic to see. And you know something, I really wouldn't have wanted to see her lose this game, knowing fully well that in Oregon, USA, she broke a record.
Yeah.
World record, so she can't afford to not win this particular Commonwealth Games. Trust me, she cannot afford not to win it.
Sustaining the energy.
And see her face, like, come on, guys, I needed to do this. It was beautiful to see. Many congratulations there to our
It's me thinking
super,
like
super.
all these have very long nails. Is it not affecting the energy? I mean, it's not getting in the way of her race.
How long?
The nails are really long though. But I mean, oh, it's such a beautiful one. The
Yeah.
energy she's putting into the work, of course,
Yeah.
keeping that mindset of a winner,
Yeah.
not going overboard with it, but then it's beautiful.
Yeah,
Man, the energy on that
definitely.
race is something.
It's something. Okay, so still talking about the Commonwealth Games. Now it brings me to mind, how the how Nigeria itself takes care of their sportsmen and the theme as well. It takes me back to 1984, the likes of Etim Bassi, Hogan, more like popularly known as Ayomba, who was a famous weightlifter and whose career ended when he burst a muscle at the 1984 Olympics. Now, before his injury, this was somebody that had won several laurels for his country and at different competitions, such as the African weightlifting competition in Egypt and the 1981 National Sports Festival. Now, his finance took a nosedive when the Nigerian government would not take care of his injuries, and he had to foot his medical bills with his savings in America. I think we have a video over, yes, that's him there. So aside from, after he had, saved up or used up his savings, to take care of himself and his injury, of course, there was nothing more to do. There was no more money for him. And so he decided that, he's going to start giving back to the country that never took care of him. And that was how he started doing humanitarian services by filling potholes around the Lekki-Ajah axis. And his story first came to limelight in 2020, where somebody, was it 2020 now? Yes, 2020, when some group of people noticed him and decided to take up his issue and then, bring it to limelight for a lot of Nigerians to see that this was one person that was a champion for Nigerians. He made the country proud at different stages in his career. Even he won a gold medals at, the, what do you call it now? At the Commonwealth Games at the time.
Yeah.
And this is somebody that has been abandoned by his country. Anyways, the good news is people have come to his aid. I think from when his video first came out on the internet, a lot of people had come to his aid. And just recently, Ahmed Musa, the Nigerian footballer, decided to give him ₦500,000 to also support him.
Of course, the video made rounds at the point where Ahmed Musa, extended the hand of fellowship to a fellow sportsman, to make Ayomba's life, somewhat, good at this time. And it goes to say that we need to, create a system within these different agencies, whether it's in sports, but anything that has to do with a job that is not necessarily pensionable. There needs to be a system where these people can always have something to fall back on. And like you rightly said, when in the course of these sports that they carry out for the nation, they get injured, what's the plan of the confederation? What's the plan of the nation to even help? Because I know of a Nigerian referee who had a thigh injury, and it was such a serious issue trying to raise funds for him to get that surgery done. That was about 2-3 years back. He sold off his things, sold off his cars, but yet he comes from a state, belongs to a country that he is one of the youngest referees representing the world over. So some of those things are things that would demoralize any sportsman or anyone in these industries. It cuts across even to the entertainment industry. So it's actually necessary for systems to be put in place. If it's a body that makes you pay a quarter of your earnings from every sporting event until you retire and is given back to you as a gratuity, as a pension, it needs to be done, because some of these people actually do really earn well while they're in active service and when they can. Endorsement deals from brands and all of those things. Someone should put in a system that helps you, take off a token, a percentage of your income, and save it up for you for at the time when you're retiring. It's better than having most of our superstars, people that represented us well, coming to become, like what we call it now, always putting up one plea for them on social media after the next. There's got to be a plan.
Or do a GoFundMe,
Yeah.
platform for people to be able to donate. But again, like you said, what is the federal government doing? What is the state government doing? I know
Yes.
that Ayomba is from Cross River State. What is the Cross River State government doing? Even when his case, came up in 2020, I think the government of Cross River State, knowing fully well that this person actually, represents not just the country, but the Cross River State
Yes.
itself, I think they should have done something about him. But again, that when you talked about these people made money, let's take it back to 1984. I don't think that the
money was
amount
that
of money,
much.
the money wasn't that much at the time, and for him to have a thigh injury, or his thigh busts open, and then of course it affected muscles as well, and then him taking all his savings. But the question would have been that what did the federal government at the time, what did the Minister of Sports or the Sports Ministry do at the time? Because this wasn't just a layabout.
Yeah.
This was somebody that's brought pride to the country. Everybody knew Nigeria because of Bassi Etam, which is who is popularly called Ayomba, in weightlifting. So everybody knew him at that time. So what did the government do at that time? And to see that somebody that represented the country could come back and then begin to even fill potholes.
Yeah.
That's so demeaning. That's so demeaning. And then it's a slight to the country itself, if they don't do something. But anyways, we just are happy that Ahmed Musa, came on through for Bassi Etam, and then we also hope that more Nigerians will also, wade into the matter and see how he can permanently leave the road, because at some time I heard that even housing was a problem for him. But I think that is all sorted out now. I think this is also like how do I put it now, like a red alert for these athletes now, making us proud. Yes, the upcoming ones, save properly, so that of course that you
Have
definitely
investment
have rainy
plans.
days. Yes,
Have investment plans. Have a business idea beyond what you're doing.
Yes.
Get that money, invest in something else, something you can always fall back to. Now the money's coming, the turns that it's coming. Like even when you talk about Iron Bar, if people come out now at the moment to give to him, there is a need for investing what comes. It's not just in settling the immediate house issue or all the other pending bills. Even if it's something he can do, we have people that are business managers, project managers, someone who can sell a business idea. Okay, we don't want you to, become recurrent with this thing in the face of the media. So how much have you gotten from GoFund? This is the amount of money. This is the kind of business we can raise for you. I mean, this is someone that, although he cannot actively go back to weightlifting, he could train other people. That's a job opportunity for him even still in the sports industry. And these are things that the confederation should look at. Some of our guys that are no longer in active service can become some form of coaches. They can teach the younger ones coming. They knew something that made them succeed. Give them something for their time. So they are still engageable. Invest in a business that brings returns on this money, so that you don't get to the face. So some other people might still be in the face of the GoFund needs. At least if yours is settled and you're set aside permanently, they can now help other people.
And then you talking about, coming back to the sports industry to be like a trainer or a coach.
Yeah.
Aside from that, the federal government is not something that we should begin to really like depend on. Okay, so maybe most of the monies that have been raised for him, he can actually start an academy, to train weightlifters on his own personal concerns. Anyways, I think another issue we'll be talking about today, we cannot talk about insecurity enough. We'll just keep talking about it, and that's because of how the situation is, the country is right now. And then we are going to move all the way to Ondo State, where there was an uncovering of a particular 150 invaders who hid in
under bags of rice.
We'll take that video and then we'll come back.
Still at the headquarters of the Ondo State Security Network Agency, codenamed Amotekun. And we told you the corps is parading 151 suspected invaders arrested with dangerous weapons by men of the Ondo State Security Network Agency, codenamed Amotekun, here in Ondo State. We are still...
Okay, so Amotekun there, of course, that's more like
state
policing in Ondo State, codenamed Amotekun. And you know that when we've been talking about the state of insecurity, one of the issues that a lot of Nigerians raised is that we should begin to get state policing now. These are people, co-opt people that know the environment, that knows the nook and crannies of this, our local environment. And of course, when you get state policing, your neighbor knows you, you know the next person knows the next person. So it's easy to begin to identify who a stranger element is or who is causing trouble in a particular society. So it makes it easier. But again, there are also concerns about state policing and the fact that you co-opt people in a particular community and form them into like what they have in Ondo State, Amotekun. I know that there was this issue of arming Amotekun with guns and not arming them with guns at some point in time, but I think from what they are doing so far, we could possibly say that they are being efficient and effective in the state policing thing.
Yes, the Amotekun of Ondo State, they've really tried to be on top of things for their state. Of course, they've in recent times really had bad experiences with regards to the insecurity in the nation. So of course they've really been doing well, being able to uncover these kinds of things, trailing even the people of the Owo incident. So well, maybe arming them with guns will be going too fast too soon. But the current means that they're using to bring respite to the Ondo people is effective enough. So that we should just keep allowing them to do that. But looking at what we have just seen, uncovering 151 men hidden under bags of rice, infiltrating a community, a state, what's their cause? That's very risky, and it's something that can put anybody on nerve. you know, you keep hearing the fact that, okay, these people are infiltrating states, they're infiltrating communities, and sometimes you think it's a fallacy. But you have it right, there were 151 people hidden under bags of rice. Where are they coming from and where are they headed to? What is their goal? And you know, like we'd always say, we hope that it goes beyond the fact that they have been nabbed. Intensive questioning must be done to bring out a result, a response. We must know where this is headed. Right now they are alleged, but we need to know what name they're going to carry in the next couple of days, because it's dangerous. If they were not discovered, no one can tell what mayhem might have befallen Ondo as of now. So it's a really sorry situation, and like Dr. Yahuza would say, we need to get beyond where we question, get the feeders that these people give us, but the willpower to go forward and implement the things that we know must be, you know, implemented. And again, it still calls for some form of deliberateness on the part of our security forces. These men must have passed through different state borders to get to Ondo State, traveling in a lorry, in a truck, hidden under bags of rice. So you don't just see a truck full of bags of rice or any kind of grain or even animals. They're telling you it's coming from the north to the south, going from the south to the west, and all of those things. You need to check it. How do people have the kinds of mind to perpetrate this kind of evil against another person?
And I don't think that these people, were on maybe just a normal movement from one place to the other, because if you look at that video properly, you see that they had arms with them, they had guns, they had different ammunitions with them. So what exactly was their mission is another question that Nigerians need answers to. And just like you said, let us be very, very vigilant. Security, they say, is everyone's business. We don't have to leave everything for government to begin to do. Government cannot be everywhere at the same time. So we as citizens, we also have our parts to play. You see any strange movement, of course you need to call the relevant authorities and report or something. But again, having state policing is I think it's a very commendable thing. It's a welcome development and a welcome idea, because of course these people will know when strangers are around, or some kind of strange movements around the environment. They will definitely be able to detect it on time,
and at least be able to bring in intel on time.
Yes, definitely.
It's something other state governments should actually really consider. We need more people who have their ears to the ground and are willing. And then sometimes some of these other young men who are from these states and these communities that are part of the nuisance, you can actually use them, co-opt them into this force, and let them be the ones that if you put the demand, the responsibility rather, of security on their shoulders, you would actually find out that communities can be addressed. We know most of the places where the areas in some community where you have vigilantes, you find out that they enjoy some form of respite as against people that don't consider those options. So we don't think that state policing is a total no idea. I think it's something that can help us to a very far extent, because at the rate we are going, just having the police and the armed forces at the central levels is no longer doing enough for us.
I wanted to even say something about just depending totally on the police force or even on the military. Now there are talks that these forces have been sabotaged, infiltrated by different members of even the ISWAP and even Boko Haram. So if we begin to have community policing, where we know that they are total indigents of a particular community, I think that it will go a long way, to cause some kind of respite for people in that area. So these are people that are not part of the military or the Nigerian police force. They know that they have the interest of their community at heart, and they would do everything possible to make sure that everybody sleeps with their two eyes closed. But the question or the debate has always been, how do you begin to arm these people? won't they go overboard, you know, in terms of using these arms and ammunitions? But we see in the part of Amotekun that even while they are armed, I think that the government also has some kinds of, you know, instruments for checks and balances, so they do not go overboard, you know, in trying to keep peace. But again, we commend them, and this is more like we saying that yes to state policing or community policing.
We actually hope that the state government and the federal government actually takes it up from there. They have brought that information. They have surrendered 151 people. We need the government to be able to take it up from there. You know, do ask the questions you need, but we need more answers.
Yes,
more answers.
Because you know, like Yahuza would always say, when these bandits or terrorists are you know, captured or arrested, we do not hear again about the follow-up incidences. What happened? What did they say? What didn't they say? Did they give lead informations to other places?
If that they did, what did they do with the information?
What did they do with the information? So I think that governments, even while we're talking about, you know, community policing or state policing now, you know, arresting or uncovering 151 raiders or invaders, I think that government needs to squeeze us 151 people to know exactly where they are coming from, what their intention was, and you know, of course, sponsors too, because you cannot say that these people just, you know, move without, you know, having other people with arms.
I know that sometimes in some of these food items that, you know, they take from one state to the other, sometimes you actually have arms being buried in some of those things.
We've seen
videos of those things. You have AK-47
stocked in rice bags
and all of those things. We live in really scary times, and the government needs to become more proactive than they currently are.
Yeah, definitely. I think that will just be our last word. The government needs to be very, very proactive than they are. And of course, like I said earlier, it behoves on all of us. We need that security consciousness. We need that security alertness. And then we need to also talk when we see something and say something as well. Anyways, we'll take a breather now at this point, and then we'll go over and take a news brief. And when we come back, of course, we'll be going straight to Osun State. So many interesting uncoverings in Osun State, and we need to talk about it. So stay tuned and don't go anywhere. We'll be right back.
Knowledge of global businesses, economic activities, a new wave of the stock market, forex market, cryptocurrencies, and NFTs create new dynamics towards emerging market millionaires and billionaires. From the dot-com era to the oil booms, the fundamental news drives the market. This is Business 360, taking you to the business around the globe. Join us from 11:30 a.m. to 12 p.m. weekdays, exclusive on Spectrum Television. Business 360, your prism to world businesses.
Nigerian police, which is the only one allowed by across them, our governors have to share police powers with the president as stipulated by the Constitution. We do not have a federal government police force. We have the Nigerian police force, which shall be administered, organized, and supervised by the Nigerian police force.
No, my lord, I want to say something. I want to say something here. Perhaps it might also enlarge the scope of people who should be invited here for examination. My lord, if we cannot find those who literally murdered Abiola, who are those people who could be said to be the beneficiaries of the death of Abiola?
Rogers has linked you with some of the killings he did.
He never did.
He linked you with the attempted murder of Hebrew.
He did not.
My lord, the matters council is leading the evidence in our matters.
Is this an adversary proceeding?
It's not, my lord, but we can't be talking about cases which are in court.
Is this an adversary proceeding?
It's not, my lord. These cases are in court, my lord. I'm just reminding your lordship.
My lord, sorry, my lord, I think I'll be in cross-examination.
Legally Speaking, a program that deals with legal issues and questions we face as citizens of this amazing country, Nigeria. Legally Speaking. Join us every
Friday from 5 p.m. to 6 p.m.
for Legally Speaking.
Good road infrastructure is a basic amenity that every society needs to run and sustain its daily activities, including growing and sustaining its economy. The people of Ikadosian village in Ibesibo expressed difficulty in a number of issues hampering their livelihood as a community. Speaking with Spectrum Television, the village head, Etidon Okonasukwa, expressed some of the difficulties that they have with the roads.
Any successful government and the only route leading to no circles, which is not that. Only route, Correction, Uran road, Correction to Bang road. Being a game, and I'm going on in a reward. Can I do it for going you something in what? I won't go no government in any cook in my power.
The people of Ikotokobo are mostly farmers. They major in the farming of crops such as okra, pepper, palm oil processing, as well as fishing. The road, according to the indigents, has remained inaccessible for years. Reports say that the road was later awarded to Hense Construction in 2019. The indigents stressed that the condition of the road has made the movement of farm produce to the markets very challenging. They also complain that their products are wasted during rainy seasons because they do not have access to channel them to the market.
I mean, the Jacoban Franyan, a Freven Franyan, a Gongokusang, Uquarm is a Kibami. A bow my ready go quorum, a better Urusang, a canizonion. Bet, die to go your army, and I'm more ready. Eddie near 1 million for them. So, Mbok, it's no you, it be a governor, even Mbok. Yamois no woman onion, goes on of Franyan 80. Osan am go wanyin. Amadi go iyak. Inesuto yak of a bayem, a rokete. Berevero in Inino Rasinyam because of Osang.
Akpan bor usang me usang mi ba freke sem kon ni tak usang iba iko fong iba sa ki kami kayam po mi yen tak mban bat tunwang baro ma ko won te po usang ba kusang ni mi a link usang asanga ke kai pe koronkun a link igwere junction ipe aruchuku road ni mine junction do but tongron din di voice di banja mban bat asina fonge baiba machine wata enango kwa wata awa kokot mbok ya government it is upon yin enam bombing onion.
They, however, called on the state government to revisit the area and help them have access to good roads.
Kwaibo Church Secondary Commercial School, a community secondary school in Mia community, is one of the long-standing schools imparted in local government.
Voting for Spectrum TV to improve 45 seats in counting.
Good morning. This is your morning news brief on Spectrum live from Uyo. I am Uya Anyekan. We begin with the President Muhammadu Buhari's observation that Nigeria is attracting positive international attention as a country that promotes media freedom and freedom of expression. According to the President, this is premised on the government's understanding of the important roles that information literacy and media education play in sustainable development. Away from that, the Minister of State for Foreign Affairs, Ambassador urged journalists in the country to curb the spate of fake news in Nigeria. The minister who made the call in Niger State underscored the need for journalists to discharge their duties diligently in fishing out bad eggs bent on spreading fake news for personal gains. On security, troops of the Air Task Force Operation Hadin Kai have neutralized 28 Boko Haram terrorists, including a notorious terrorist commander Modu, also known as Bembem, in Borno State during the weekend. The operation reportedly followed credible intelligence reports indicating that the ISWAP fighters were converging in large numbers to conduct attacks. On our business news, Nigeria Employers Consultative Association has raised the alarm that the nation's economy is allegedly on the brink of collapse. The Director General of the association, who warned in Lagos that spiraling inflation, rising energy costs, scarcity of forex, dwindling value of the naira, among others, were bleeding the economy, advised the federal government to employ a holistic and multi-pronged approach towards resolving the challenges. We head now to the foreign scene where Colombia's first leftist president, Gustavo Petro, has been sworn into office. Petro has promised to fight inequality, with his swearing-in reportedly heralding a turning point in the history of a country haunted by a long war between the government and guerrilla groups. Finally, in sports, Brume has won gold for Nigeria in the women's long jump at the 2022 Commonwealth Games in Birmingham, United Kingdom. Also, Toby Amusan got another record-breaking gold medal for Team Nigeria at the Games, after blazing to a new record of 12 minutes 30 seconds to retain the 100-meter hurdles she won 4 years ago in the Gold Coast, Australia. We'll have details of the stories and more in our news at 12. I am Uyai Anyek, and we head back now to the Rise and Shine crew to stay with us.
Government, Secretary General,
His Excellency Lagos, Nigeria for Spectrum TV to recover 45 seats taken to counting.
Elections in Nigeria is characterized by fraud.
It is not pure election because of the way they conduct it.
The elections are here again. For us in Akwa Ibom State, it is another opportunity to elect credible and potential leaders.
But I see some of them are not really credible.
In fact, when you talk about the credibility in the Nigerian system, it's absent.
As for the aspirants, what are your plans to better the lives of citizens and ensure that it is not just another era of political promises?
Some aspirants came up with so childish kind of manifesto, something that you know that they cannot do.
Even if after campaigning and promising heaven and earth, you find out that by the time they come in, they cannot do 50% of what they promised.
Because they are coming to see this. If they don't use this, they will not achieve what they want. So it is the normal thing they must use to convince a man that does not have a proper ideology to vote them.
So it's just a mere slogan. It's just a mere slogan to use and have their right into power.
What do you, the people, think about the elections?
The electoral process has been marred by malpractice and all of that.
That's a bad thing in Nigeria. All election is about money.
Definitely, no matter what the reforms they are carrying out, they will still be rigging.
It's about the aspirants, the manifesto, the people's view, an in-depth analysis.
That godfatherism is what has eaten deep into our political system. It has become a cankerworm that has left our political system into a corrupt system.
If it is not godfatherism, somebody like me, I will become the counselor. So because I don't have a godfather, it will not work.
Because people feel that they will come and invest, they need to get something back home. So the major aim is not about the people, it's about their family and themselves.
Godfatherism will not help the politics to grow. It won't help democracy to grow.
Vote buying will even be more this time around because these people, most of them have stolen a lot of money and they will use this money to buy votes.
Who gets to represent you in government at all levels?
Well, for me, the new breed aspirants, I would love the new breed aspirants. But for those, there are some of them that will not, I would say, definitely, I wouldn't want them to come back definitely to power.
Join us on Akwa Ibom Decides every Saturday and Sunday by 3 p.m. each day, exclusive to Spectrum Television, as we take on the aspirants set to lead you.
Many thanks for still being there. Welcome back. It's still Rise and Shine, and we just came back from the news brief where we told you all the things happening in Nigeria and of course some parts of the world as well. Anyways, we have all the conversations we'll be having lined up for you this morning, and we'll be heading straight now to Osun State, where the All Progressives Congress APC and its candidate in the July 16th Osun State governorship election, Boyega Oyetola, have filed a petition at the tribunal to challenge the results of the elections. Now, from all indication, it was actually expected. You remember the last time we talked to the chief press secretary, and we told him that we're expecting that this will happen. And anyway, he told us that they were still analyzing the results and all of that. So maybe today he's going to be telling us exactly what the analysis has been and why they have decided, to bring, I hear over 50 lawyers have decided to come on this particular matter. But we are going to take a clip by the chairman of APC, Osun State. Is it chairman now? Okay, so we're going to take a clip from the chairman, chairman Osun State APC, and that's Boyega Famudon. I hope I got that name correctly. We'll take that clip while we have the Chief Press Secretary to the Governor, to the government of Osun State, on standby to join us in this particular conversation. We'll take the clip of the chairman of Osun State APC, and then we come back.
To file in election petition for the July 16 governorship election in Osun State. We've just filed it in, signed, and sealed for the tribunal to take over from there. We have the advice of our legal personnel. They have given us assurance that we have a good case, and I believe so. A lot of people are here today believing that we have a good case, and I think by the grace of God, we will have a cause to do.
Okay, from the mouth of the APC chairman of Osun State there, and anyways, to have a broader perspective to this particular conversation, we have the Chief Press Secretary to Governor Adegboyega Oyetola in the person of Ismail Omipidon. Join us this morning. Good morning, and thank you so much for joining us on this particular show this morning.
Good morning. The pleasure is mine.
Good morning.
Good morning. And of course, I'm not alone here. Uya is also here.
Good morning, Mr. Ismaila. Good to have you again.
Oh, yeah.
Okay, I think network is playing a fast one on us there. But of course, we'll be talking to Mr. Ismaila this morning regarding the petition that Oyetola has decided at the APC, led administration in Osun State has decided to take the results of the just concluded elections in Osun State. Good morning, sir. Good to have you back.
Good morning. The pleasure is mine.
How are things in Osun State this morning?
Well, we thank God. Osun is peaceful. As a matter of fact, it's one of the most peaceful states in Nigeria. I see you this morning.
Yes, good. Yes, good. And I think that most peaceful state mantra will be dragging it to Osun State, because Akwa Ibom has that mantra. Good to have you. So we see that the APC has decided to petition the results of the just concluded gubernatorial elections in Osun State. How's that going? What's on the table?
Well, thank you. You remember, I think about 2 days after the result of the election was declared, no, about a day after the result of the election was declared, we had a cause to have a conversation on the matter, and I did said that we're reviewing the results, and that by the time we are done, and if we are convinced that there is a need to challenge the results in the court, that we will not hesitate to so do. It was a painstaking assignment. We perused through all the results, and we realized that there are certain infractions, and that if those infractions are corrected, we believe that our candidate, our party, should have been declared the winner of that election, and that is why we have now gone to court to challenge the result on those grounds.
Okay, what were the kinds of infractions that you saw? You mentioned that after the review of the results, some infractions were noticed. Are you at liberty to tell us some of the infractions noticed in the results compiled?
Well, ordinarily once a case is filed in court, you don't discuss the details. But for the benefit of the viewers, I would say that fundamentally, you recall that even before we filed the petition, I did mention that as far as I know, in some parts of Ede, which is the stronghold of the PDP candidate, who has now been declared as the governor-elect.
Okay, so I think we just have some poor network issues there. We hope to have him, join us again to really explain exactly,
Sorry,
the reason. Okay, I think he's back
I'm
now.
back now. Can you hear me?
Yes, we can.
I did say that in some parts of Ede, where the candidate of the PDP is from, who has now been declared as the governor-elect, that voting were going on there up to 10 p.m., whereas all the major media houses had reported by 7 p.m. that voting had ended. Although they tried to argue much later that those people were on the queue, but we have evidence from field officers that as at 2:30 p.m., those who voted up till around 10 p.m. were not on the queue. This is just one out of so many of them, and there were about over 700 polling units where we discovered overvoting, and we will be going to court to prove this case beyond all reasonable doubt.
Okay,
and if you see the way they have been agitated, even their supporters, you know that probably they are already feeling some kind of heat.
Okay, now I also remember that during the elections and even after the elections had finished, even INEC said that it was a free and fair elections. The President of the Federal Republic of Nigeria said it was a free and fair elections. And as it stands, I think that the elections in Osun State and even Ekiti State is being used as a prototype to, talk about the excellent delivery of the Independent National Electoral Commission. So would you say that, your principal does not have the spirit of sportsmanship, and that is why he is contesting this particular elections? And then again, 2018, do we see it have a replay in 2022?
First, let me say that if you know my principal very well, you will know that it's a man who does not believe in desperation. And like I said previously, if we were desperate to win that election, I'm sure the peaceful atmosphere that was allowed to prevail may probably not have been obtainable. Well, you see, when you say the president and everybody is, nobody is.
Network, I guess. So, well, when they say that this is going to be challenged, I also saw that one of the allegations was that there was the discovered overvoting in over 700 polling units. Okay, so we have CPS join us again. Please go ahead, sir.
Thank you very much. Well, they have expressed their own opinion. I'm sure by the time we go through the rigors of the litigation, we'll be able to subject those opinions to proper scrutiny. But in terms of a peaceful atmosphere, it was peaceful, no doubt about that. But talking about some of the things that went into play, I'm sure I will leave those decisions to the panel that will be looking at what we have brought before them. When you say if 2018 will play out, I don't really get what you mean, but don't forget that in 2018, it was the PDP that took the APC to court up to the Supreme Court before the matter was laid to rest.
Okay, so another point that I'm going to raise this morning, I'm going to be quoting a PDP chieftain, Dino Odeyemi, who told a particular newspaper that any aggrieved politician who plans to take legal action against the victory of the Osun State Governor-elect Adeleke is more like giving money to lawyers for an academic exercise.
Well, that is his own opinion. You see, one
So
thing I
more like
don't
him
really
saying that what your principal is
let
doing
me
is
let me say this. Let me say this. What I don't get is this. What I don't get is this. If 4 years ago, when you felt that you won the election, you pursue this matter up to Supreme Court, what is now wrong in the other person too challenging your victory? I don't really get it. Are you saying that when the man is convinced that certain things are not done properly, are you saying that you should just go away without challenging it? I think that one, since we are using the beavers for the first time, our decision to challenge this outcome will further help to deepen not only our democracy, but deepen the electoral process. Because
okay, so we lost that now, and you know, to say that we have overvoting in over 700 and something polling units, I think it's
it
a
is
spite on
possible.
INEC.
It is possible that most of the things that we have discovered that are now the grounds of our going to court will further help. If we had not discovered that and we are not challenging it now, the electoral umpire and even some Nigerians may never be aware of their existence. We are using beavers for the first time. And therefore, why don't we wait and see if indeed we are going to court to waste our time, or we indeed have a reason to go to court?
Okay, so CPS, let's try to wrap up this conversation now. If you say that you discovered overvoting in over 700 and something polling units, you're trying to indict INEC because, like they say, the new Electoral Act, you know, says that electronic delivery of votes. So is it a part in the part of INEC now that, you know, they did not know, or INEC was an accomplice to this?
And 700 polling units is actually a lot of polling units.
That's a lot.
You're saying that in more than half the polling units that they had in Osun State, INEC was.
No, the total polling units in Osun, it's over 3,000. I think 3,700 and something.
Okay.
It's over 3,000. So 700 is not half of the polling units.
Okay, so
it's a lot of number. That's what I mean.
But you see, it would be unfair on my part to stand there and be indicting the electoral umpire because we are presenting our case, we are challenging it. Decision has not been taken, you know, by the tribunal. Therefore, it would be unfair of me to now be saying what. But don't also forget that in every society, in every endeavor, there are the good, the bad, and the ugly. I will leave it at that for now.
Okay. So of course, the case is already going to kickstart in the courts already. So let's just say, in a way, what does the APC hope to achieve? What's the hope of the party, and of course your principal at the end of this case in court?
Let me just add this so that he takes it in one breath now. And if you do not win in court, would you take the results?
Well, first, we are going to court because we believe that we have a case, and we are optimistic that the avalanche of evidences that we have, it's enough to
Anyway, I just hope he joins us back so he can tell us that last part of what, is expected.
It's enough to sway the victory in our favor. Janice, it's just like you ask God for something and God grants you. Will you take it or reject it?
But I think what Janice meant there was if the result does not turn in your favor.
If it doesn't favor you.
Look, we are responsible and responsive people. And like I said the previous time, please do a little bit of homework about my principal and how he has been able to govern the state in the last 3.5 years. And try and also do a profiling of those who were here before him. You will know that he's indeed a very, very different person. He is not your typical kind of Nigerian politician.
All right. Thank you very much, Ismail Omipidon, Chief Press Secretary to Governor Adigboyega Oyetola and Member National Campaign Council, Osun Governorship Elections. Thank you so much for your time this morning.
The pleasure is mine. God bless you.
I will wish you and your principal all
all
the best.
The best. All the best. Yeah.
Thank you very much. I appreciate it.
All right. Okay, at this point now, fingers crossed there for Osun State.
Really.
And we hope to see how it plays out at the end of the day. But maybe we'll just take a breather now, and then when we come back, of course, we'll be joining another guest that will be talking to us about the educational system under this particular administration, what it has been so far, what is the hope of the Nigerian students, what is the hope of the educational sector, especially now that you know that we are having the issue of ASU's prolonged strike. Where does that leave us as a country? Where does that leave our educational sector as a country? We'll take that a short breather now, and when we come back, of course, we'll come back with our guests to stay with us.
Kwaibu Church Secondary Commercial School, a community secondary school in Mia community, is one of the long-standing schools in Batenin local government area. Founded in 1972, the institution has churned out successful Nigerians across the South-South region and beyond. Reports say that the institution was one of the best rated in the past, but for decades now, the glory of the school has been buried in the deplorable condition where it is today.
Things are not very fine in this school. I'm struggling left and right tooth and nail to make sure I correct one thing or the other. We are bothering how to repair the principal quarters under renovation at hand. We've been abandoned. Everything here, nothing. Mostly, especially this structure that you see that upstairs there, was built by the community via Kwaibu Church in 1973. As sovereign in this school, only 7 teachers in question. Other subjects are sovereign, but the core subjects are sovereign, no teachers here. My humble appeal is now that government should be able to look into all this public school, most of this Mia own.
The indigents say that the state government was aware of the plight of the school and had promised to reposition the citadel of learning.
Government personalities over time is
the visit, take photographs. The government of Udom Emmanuel is excellency. I get it take up. The commission computer lab here. 50 computers, sets more. You have up to 800 students in this school at all. You have about 7 teachers, 2 PTA staff. So, being your government, no teachers, you from where me. Teaching and non-teaching staff, from where me, do something to reckon with.
Another is the QIC Group School, a government-owned primary school still in Mia community, which also draws attendance from pupils across the 6 villages under Mia community.
This school is fed by about 4 villages. Ikora Idevia Mia, Ikora Bo Mia, Ikora Basim Mia, and Ikora Kaide Mia. Even most of the children have been coming from Ikora Barako. I am appealing to the state government to look into the problems of this primary school, especially refurbishing the buildings and maintaining the school to a better standard, because the children are many. And teachers should be sent down to this school to take care of the children.
As the people remind government on the urgency for the rehabilitation of the schools, they also plead for more teachers to be sent to the schools to meet the learning demands with the growing population.
A knowledge of global businesses, economic activities, a new wave of the stock market, forex market, cryptocurrencies, and NFTs creates new dynamics towards emerging market millionaires and billionaires. From the dot-com era to the oil booms, the fundamental news drives the market. This is Business 360, taking you to the business around the globe. Join us from 11:30 a.m. to 12 p.m. weekdays, exclusive on Spectrum Television. Business 360, your prism to world businesses.
The Nigerian police, which is the only one allowed by cross them, our governors have to share police powers with the president as stipulated by the constitution. We do not have a federal government police force. We have the Nigerian police force, which shall be administered, organized, and supervised by the Nigerian police force.
No, my lord, I want to say something. I want to say something here. Perhaps it might also enlarge the scope of people who should be invited here for examination. My lord, if we cannot find those who literally murdered Abiola, who are those people who could be said to be the beneficiaries of the death of Abiola?
Rogers has linked you with some of the killings he did.
He never did.
He linked you with the attempted murder of Hebrew.
He did not.
My lord, the matters council is leaving the evidence in our matters.
Is this an adversary proceeding?
It's not, my lord, but we can't be talking about cases which are in court.
Is this an adversary proceeding?
It's not, my lord. These cases are in court, my lord. I'm just reminding your lordship.
My lord, sorry, my lord, I think I'll be in process.
Legally Speaking, a program that deals with legal issues and questions we face as citizens of this amazing country, Nigeria. Legally Speaking. Join us every
Friday from 5 p.m. to 6 p.m.
for Legally Speaking.
Welcome back. If you're just joining us, it's still Rise and Shine, and it's the Monday morning edition, bringing you all of a recap of things that have happened nationwide over the weekend. At this point, we're going to be having a conversation looking in-depthly into the things that have happened in the education sector in the APC-led administration, the Buhari-led administration. And joining us this morning will be Dr. Peter Ogudoro. He holds a PhD in education with emphasis on access to higher education, career management, and attitude change from the University of Reading in England, and leads the world's most vibrant teachers community of over 400,000 members called Nigerian Teachers. Dr. Ogudoro won Facebook's Community Accelerator Award for year 2021. He's an alumnus of Austria's Center for Innovation in Education and empowers millions of people across the world with his uncommon knowledge. That's a well-vested man we're having on the show this morning. Good morning, Dr. Gudoro.
Yeah, good morning. It's my pleasure to join you on the show.
So great to have you this morning.
Okay, and it's also nice that we'll be tapping from that uncommon knowledge.
Yes, uncommon wealth of knowledge.
I liked that part this morning, when you said it. Anyways, thank you so much, Dr. Peter Ogudoro, for being a guest this morning. And I would like to start on this note. I know that our focus is talking about the educational sector on that present administration, but I would like to start from here. We know that the ASU has been on strike for close to 6 months now. This year, let's not even talk about last year's one of over 9 months. But I want to really know what your standpoint or what your view is about this particular prolonged strike by ASU. Let's start from there.
Well, it's a very unfortunate situation in our hands, but there's nothing very surprising about it. The politicians who run the affairs of Nigeria are people who do not understand the indispensable place of education in moving the country forward. But more critically, I think that the reason why we are where we are is the fact that the people who run the affairs of Nigeria are people who do not wear the shoes and so do not certainly know where it pinches. By that I mean, they train their children in the UK, in America, and in Canada. Their children are not in these schools that have been shut down for close to 6 months now. And so they do not understand what the ordinary person goes through, whose children are in these kinds of places. And they also don't care much about the development that we're talking about, because they all have visas at any point in time. And so if Nigeria goes bad, they don't really care much. They will just get on their private jets and get out of the place. And that's certainly why we are where we are. And again, most of them are illiterate, even when they brandish degrees. They didn't really work hard for some of the degrees that they possess. And they do not know the value of education. They do not know the value of a professor. They do not know how much work goes into becoming a professor, into getting a PhD and staying in the university to work, for government. They think that the work people like us do is a job that anybody can do. They can just sack professors and ignore them, and out of desperation that professors return to the classroom. No, there's a level of education you attain, and you would rather prefer to die rather than stay in a place where people mess you up. That's why we are where we are, and we are not about to get out of it, because we are not really seriously searching for solutions to the problem, because our model for funding university education in Nigeria is upside down. It doesn't reflect intelligence. It doesn't reflect wisdom. And until we're able to find a sustainable way to fund university education in Nigeria, we'll continue to have these strikes.
Okay, so I think the last thing that you talked about, funding university education, will bring me to my next question now. Do you think that it is poor funding that is the major concern or major reason why we have a fallback on the educational system in Nigeria?
Well, it's one of the critical factors affecting the stability of the sector, but it's not the only factor. More fundamentally, is the fact that the people who are running the system are around pegs and square holes, as you would say. we haven't made a deliberate effort to get the right manpower in place in the education system, right from the minister to the small people who are education inspectors, the ministers of education across Nigeria. So they do not have the intellectual tools it takes to run a proper system. And until we are able to get professional educationists into the education system, really running critical sectors, especially ministries of education, we are not going to stop having this kind of problem. They don't understand what the issues are. And again, there's also the angle of corruption. Even the little money you vote for education is misappropriated, because let's take the issue of teacher education. Who are the people training our teachers? They are people who are brought in by politicians and given money to do the jobs that they have not been equipped to do. Who are the people supplying equipment to universities? There are people who are regular contractors. Some of them didn't even finish secondary school properly, and they are the ones who supply equipment because they are relatives of politicians, they are friends of politicians, they are political captains who have to be rewarded for the roles they played in getting politicians to win elections. And so long as you continue to do those kinds of things that should cost you, let's say 100 million, may end up costing you $1 billion. So even the little money you have, you discover that you are not using it judiciously. And so of course, even if you spend the entire money we have as our national budget, spend it on education, it won't still be enough. But the little we are able to vote is not being judiciously utilized. So it's a hard-headed problem. But that problem can be solved if you get the right people into the right offices in government.
Okay, sir. Okay, so I'm going to narrow it down a little to the context of our conversation this morning. The Buhari-led administration has been in power for 7.5 years. And in this 7.5 years, I'd like you to x-ray as deeply as possible what the education sector has been in the past 7 years. We know that in 2021, there was a 9-month strike by ASU, and then there's been the current ongoing almost 6-month strike. Now, education does actually go beyond the tertiary institutions. We're even looking at education from our primary schools going up to our secondary schools. So I'd like for you to give an overview. You being overseeing over 400,000 teachers in Nigeria, what would you say the state of education is in Nigeria, in the past 7.5 years?
Well, most of our presidents haven't fared well when it comes to education because as I said at the beginning of this conversation, they do not really have the right philosophy that guides them in the kind of choices they make in the education sector. And it's more disturbing, in the last 7.5 years, by the parameters you have given me in terms of time frame. And so overall, I have no reason to clap hands for the people who have managed the affairs of our country in the last 7 years. We haven't done well as a people at all levels. Our children haven't been getting the right type of education. At kindergarten level, we are not even doing anything there at all. At primary school level, yes, there is a UBEC, Universal Basic Education Commission. They are supposed to superintend the management of that level of education, the first 9 years of a child's education. But I'm not very sure that they have done well because primary school education is also upside down. We have succeeded in, getting more people to become aware of the value of, getting into school and not staying away from home. But we know that close to 20 million Nigerian children are out of school, and they haven't even started at all to lay a foundation to acquire basic literacies with respect to mathematics and English language. And that's very scandalous for us. And so you shouldn't be surprised as to why you have so many people as ready, tools which terrorists are using to disturb our country, who have become bandits, who have become, herdsmen, as you described them. And that's primarily because they are not in school, they are not doing productive things. And if you move from there to secondary school and go into the tertiary level, you discover that even when children are in school, they are not really learning much. So people finish secondary school in Nigeria, and they are not able to utter, a coherent sentence. It's not just about the, grammatical correctness of what they're saying, but also making sense. The things they say do not reflect, that they have been in the four walls of any school. The reason is the teachers have not been trained on how to teach. So the teaching we do here is teaching that focuses on telling people what to think rather than teaching them how to think. And until you make that transition from focusing on what to think to how to think, you are not going to produce the people who will give you a productive economy that will deal with the unemployment challenges that we face in our country. Today, the average graduate doesn't come close to reflecting what his certificate says he is able to do in terms of capacity to solve problems. People like Dangote who run factories, go and ask him when he's building a new factory, the one he built at Ibeshe where he makes cement, not very long ago. I think he brought in up to 70% of people who build that factory from Asia and other parts of the world, because universities in Nigeria and polytechnics were not able to give him the kind of manpower he needed to set up a proper factory. And as we speak now, go and ask the banks. A lot of the people who run their IT systems are coming from abroad. One of my banks, really, when I call their customer center, the person who answers me is in India. And that's because they don't trust the Nigerian education system to produce IT professionals to run their computer systems, and that's very scandalous for Nigeria. And anyway, no matter where you turn, you can't find the manpower you're looking for, and that's because we haven't trained teachers well, and we also don't pay them well. The few who have managed to get good education, probably from abroad, people like us who traveled and have come back. One of the reasons why I'm not a regular university lecturer is the fact that, in the first place, they cannot pay my salary. And then secondly, they can't give me the equipment that I need to do my job. And so I prefer to, operate as an independent academic, who does his job in the way that I'm doing it. And interestingly, people outside the country are the ones who are recognizing the value of the contributions I'm making in the education space globally. So, and as we are on strike now, you can see, if you do my kind of research, you see that by the time we even manage to call off the strike, other things being equal, over 50% of high quality, skilled manpower who are, you call university lecturers, would have left the country. Many of them have left already. So even if you call off the strike to their children return to school, they are going to get into classrooms and not find their lecturers there standing before them. And so that's very unfortunate for us. And many are consulting me, because I'm into career management, to help them with ideas on how they can get out and go into and send our clients where people know the value of high quality people. And so it hasn't been fine. It hasn't been fine. Quality is poor. Governance is nothing to write home about. Access is very problematic. Annually, close to 2 million young people in Nigeria want to get into university. And we don't give access to even up to 500,000. So we're catering for about 25% of those who want to have access to tertiary institutions. And that means that the rest, about 75% of them, are left to take care of themselves. And so the devil does a good job at finding jobs for them. And that's why we're in the kind of environment where you don't go to bed and close your two eyes. Even when a balloon bursts, we think that armed bandits have come to harass us. Wow. So I'm not very impressed. These people haven't done well.
Okay, let's do a little comparison, because by the analysis you've just given us, it looks to us like we are running a counterproductive system of education in Nigeria. And let's backtrack a little bit to your own days, where we had our parents in the 60s, and early 70s going to school. It looked like we had an education system in Nigeria that was worthy of emulation. We even had some international students come to some of our federal universities to go to schools. At what point did the education system begin to nosedive? I know you've spoken about the fact that our teachers are not well trained. There's a problem with governance and all of that. But at what point did this shift begin to occur? And is there no way out for the Nigerian population? Because, we have a lot of half-baked graduates. A lot of organizations will tell you, yes, we have graduates, but most of our graduates are not employable. At what point did this mix change? Because we know our parents had good education. And apart from children who can afford to go to school abroad or some private education, we're just running a counterproductive system.
Well, if you have, paid attention closely for many years now, we have people who believe that the whites left Nigeria too early. And so when you mentioned the 60s happened to be times when some of the whites were still here running schools as principals, as heads of department, and they happened to be the ones who established Yaba College of Technology, which was the first tertiary institution in Nigeria. And then they established University of Ibadan, which was the first university in Nigeria. And some of the people who established Ibadan, went from Yaba College of Technology. And so they were here even in the 60s and even in the 70s after the war. Some of them were still lecturers and, administrators running the system. And their influence and values are impacted on the system. And unfortunately for us, oil came, and the ones who are not here probably to continue to give us guidance. And I'm not necessarily subscribing to to the wise running affairs as a people, but I can tell you that the value system of our people is very much upside down. We are a people who chase only material things. We don't know the value of knowledge. We don't appreciate the value of people who have ideas but do not have cars, jeeps, and many houses to show for it. So oil came, and so many people left the farm, and everybody traveled to Lagos to go and make money. And so when you return to your village and you are riding a big car, the children see you as a successful person, because we define success by what we see and not the intangible things that people carry in their heads. And so every child began to look forward to also coming home with riding big cars. And so we got distracted and stopped paying attention to investing in education, which tends to produce good results in the long term. And so long as we have been in that kind of situation where we eulogize and celebrate the people who call rich people who have material things and not ideas, we will continue to suffer the kind of things we are suffering. So this problem has been with us for a very long time. I must also put it on record that the type of education system the colonial authorities also left behind wasn't also the best education system, because see, they didn't establish engineering departments in a university, because they had their own needs. The need was for them to train people who could speak English, learn classes, people who could help them to translate vernacular into English so that they could collect taxes to run the country. So they didn't help us to really invest in producing people who had the capacity to run factories and establish industries. So that's why we have remained a very consumer nation rather than a very productive
Okay, so
country.
Dr.
So
Goro, Dr. Godoro, let me say
Yeah.
this now. From what you have said, at that point, we had white people coming to, take over our education sector. Now they have left. The story is different. Our educational sector is nosediving, aside from government not being able, to provide a conducive environment, because we take our minds back to, I think it was Ondo State, where we saw a class of examination pupils sit on the floor to write examinations. It was really, really sympathetic to see. But let me say this now, as as an educationist and someone who has trained over 400,000 teachers, what should we begin to do to recheck even the teaching? We had something called the Teachers Training College, where teachers go to get trained and
Colleges of
retrained.
education.
So what do we need to do to begin to reject this? And then again, I'm just going to put it so you just take it in one breath as we begin to wrap up this conversation now. I know that ASU's demand is okay. We need a robust educational sector where things are working and, staff are well paid, the educational environment is conducive. But what happens at the end of the strike that we do not even know when it's going to end? How will the educational sector in Nigeria, even as deplorable as it is right now, how will it pick up again? So you just take that.
It's going to be very difficult for it to pick up, and it's going to be very, very difficult for it to pick up, because it doesn't even have a foundation. It doesn't have a foundation. It's going to be in the next 50 years, we're still struggling because we haven't laid the foundation for it. We haven't got education philosophy. So if you want to move forward, first you have to get a proper philosophy. Ask the question: what should education be doing for us as a people in Senna climes? When when America has a problem, America starts solving that problem from working on the education system. They give money to their professors to do research. In Britain, we are trained in Norway, in Sweden, in Austria, the places where I have had some good education. When they have problems, they give money to professors to research on their problems and give them ideas which the politicians can now fund to find solutions to solve those problems. So if you want to move forward, first, make a deliberate effort to ensure that anyone who is going to be Minister of Education must be somebody who has education background. When I say education background, it's not just any professor. It must be a professor of education who understands the principles that should guide how we run the system. And with that in place, you then can be sure that that professor will also employ directors in the Ministry of Education who understand what the job is about and how they should do it. And if the need arises, sack the ones you meet there. And that's very important, because most of the people who are there now are political appointees who know nothing about education. Get them out of the place and employ proper education inspectors who go to schools to ensure that we have the right systems in place, and not people who just go and collect money, which you call bribe, and turn a blind eye to irregularities that are going on in that space. And if once you're able to sanitize that level, then train your teachers, fund the training system, and don't just let any kind of person come and, because they have connection to politicians, be the one to train teachers. It should be people who are properly trained, who have the right ideas, who know where education is today. The teacher training we do in Nigeria in our colleges of education and our universities is not the type of training that teachers, should be going through now. I work with them and I can see that there's so much emphasis on lesson note and passing exams and helping children to acquire certificates. And there is a lot of education corruption that we experience in Nigeria, because parents are so carried away by the need for their children to get A's, and that is not where the world is. In the modern society, we no longer need degrees to, as desperately as Nigerians perceive it, because in about 30 years time, I tell you, employers will no longer be asking you for your HND or university degree. Even PhD may no longer be very relevant. People employ, even as at today in America, people who go to work for Facebook, for Google, they don't ask them for degrees. They ask them for their own certifications, which they have created, because they no longer trust university systems. And so we need to get our people to become aware of the fact that employers are now looking for problem solvers and not people who possess certificates they cannot defend. And so moving forward, that's the way to go. But while we are still running these systems, we must not forget in a hurry that we have not succeeded in effectively taking care of the universities we have in place. So the idea of establishing more universities by the federal government via National Universities Commission is a very wrong idea. We don't need more universities in Nigeria. We need better funded universities. We need better equipped universities. We need better, manned, universities in terms of the kind of professors we have in this place. Our professors need to be retrained. Our professors need to be connected to international networks so that they can interact with their colleagues in other parts of the world to understand, the level at which they should be operating in terms of the type of knowledge they share in classrooms. We are not doing any of that. And we should appreciate the few who have chosen to stay here and contribute to the development of our country. They are not appreciated adequately. And that is very unfortunate. The brain drain is too high for a developing country. The few people we manage to train with our scarce resources are leaving the country because we are not recognizing and rewarding them adequately. And that's very important. Yeah.
I want to say
let's look at those considerations here.
All right, thank you so very much, Dr. Peter Ogu Doro, educationist, career advisor, HR practitioner, and public relations expert. Thank you so much for your time with us on the show this morning.
Thank you very much. Do enjoy the rest of the day.
And you too. We just hope that the federal government, will look into some of those ways that have been put forward to try to reject the educational system in the country.
Of course, we'll look forward to having another conversation with Mr.
Peter.
Yes, Dr. Peter Ogudoro, I beg your pardon, because there's a lot of insight that he has. We need to do a comparison between federal and private education in Nigeria.
Definitely.
We need to know where we are really headed. He has said it looks hopeless at the point, but we'll need more conversations. But at this time, we need to move to the city center, where we are going to be joining up with Mr. Humble, yes, who is bringing us newspaper reviews from across the city. Join us.
Thank you, and Janice. We are still watching Rise and Shine, and we are moving to the next segment, which is People's View, a super segment review that brings to you the voices and the opinions of people on the many headlines that we have from our national dailies coming down to our local tabloids. And there we move to the Punch newspaper. Recall that the lawmakers had issued a statement that the president should be impeached. So from the Punch newspaper, we have a headline that says, "No going back on Buhari's impeachment." Sir, what do you have to say? What's your take on that?
Okay, my name is Basi Martins. I have been following this issue of Buhari's impeachment. But for me, I don't like shying away from Nigeria's problem because I know that the root cause of our problem in this country has been corruption. And if we continue to shy away from this corruption issue, we will keep on having problems. We will keep on having people coming with different opinion, and most of these opinion, they are born out of their corrupt intent. You see, this Buhari issue, Buhari has been there, and insecurity has been there right from time, even before Buhari came in. Why didn't they talk of impeachment?
So are you saying that he should be impeached or should not be impeached?
We should let us allow him to finish his tenure or his government. Let us allow him finish. We know what to do to stop all these things. It is when we work on our system and eradicate corruption, everything will be
all
well
right. Coming down to Akwa Ibom State, where we have diverse political parties and aspirants, we have a headline from City Watch 2023 Cuba. Akwa Ibom needs a governor who will prioritize job creation. That's what the University Dawn says. What's your take on that?
Okay. Well, Akwa Ibom, here in Akwa Ibom, we know that we have a system that we have been following right from the past government.
So what's the system? What has been the system?
Okay, the system of choosing someone for the people. Yes, we have been following that system. So I believe since we are okay with that system, maybe that's how we are comfortable.
Okay, you mean the system should continue?
Yes.
All right. What's the next headline is following the just concluded PDP primaries, the PDP presidential aspirant Atiku and Wike, there has been a gulf between the two of them. So that takes us to another headline from the Nation newspaper that says Wike's camp slams Atiku over divide and rule in PDP. What's your take on that, sir?
Well, I tell you, I don't really have any
Thank you very much.
This Wike and Atiku's.
So that's how far we can go on people's view. And that has been the opinion and suggestions of people from the streets of our country. So that does not represent the view or standpoint of Spectrum Television. From here, we take you back to the studio with Janice and Uyai Aneka. Keep watching Rise and Shine.
Thank you very much, Humble. Yes, getting the view of people on the streets of Rio to talk about, the headlines making it on our national dailies. And one conversation that has been like a back-to-back on the front burner and making headlines as well is the impeachment move, by some senates of the People's Democratic Party to have the president impeached over the spate of insecurity in the country. And just like that young man said, Let's allow the government of the day to just wrap up and, just let them finish their tenure. Maybe that, for him, it's not the solution to the insecurity we are having in the country, but some other thing could be the reason. I don't know what his reason is anyways, but it has been like a conversation, that the president should be impeached. And this is something that we have talked, we have had conversations on. And the first question I asked is, why are those in the Senate, coming up with this option now, that, all of this brewed from the fact that there was this insecurity threats, in the capital, the federal capital territory. And so for a lot of Nigerians also, it's coming closer to political bigwigs or juggernauts, and, it's sending fears down their spine, and they are being more proactive now. But is impeaching the president the actual solution to this particular aspect of insecurity? We also hope to, in the course of the week, to have somebody, one of the senators that actually moved for the impeachment of the president, have him come talk to us about exactly why they want the president to be impeached and the reason, what they are trying to achieve in all of this. I know that they gave the president, I think, was it 2 weeks or so? Yes,
yeah, it was a 2 week ultimatum.
It's 2 weeks ultimatum to actually solve the problem. And Nigerians will ask, if you have over 7 years and you couldn't solve the insecurity issues that we have in the country, how will you now take 2 weeks to solve it at the end of the day?
Well, I think what we see there from the Punch headlines, the fact that these senators are even saying they're not backing down. Because initially, it felt like when they moved for the motion and the Speaker of the House, Ahmed Lawan, banged it and took it off the table, it felt like it was going to die a natural death. But we've even seen that there's been conversations behind closed doors as to the fact that this is a real thing. But at the end of the day, it looks rather counterproductive because the APC Buhari-led administration just has a few months to wind down. They might as well just finish, like the young man said. Finish and let's see what we do with the next government that comes. Insecurity has been this way for a couple of years. If they really wanted to impeach the president, they might have tried earlier. But alas, this is what it is. And of course, we'll see how the story keeps panning out.
Yeah,
we hope for the best. And at this point, we'll be moving to our tidbit segment where we'll bring you Did You Know? A group of flamingos are called flamboyants.
Yes,
I like
flamboyant.
that.
And of course, we know that flamingos are just a group of a particular species of birds. Yeah, so looking at pictures of flamingos, they are actually very pretty birds.
Yeah.
They want to look like ostriches with very long
colorful
necks, very colorful. So we just call them flamboyants.
Flamboyants.
Yes.
I like the sound of that. Flamboyant birds. Okay, so let's take our health tip for the morning. Developing routines in the way you do your activities every day is one way to take care of yourself.
Yeah, and reduce stress.
Reduce stress and anxiety.
Now, there are people that just don't like routines.
Yeah.
At some point it just becomes monotonous, like you just get tired, you just get bored, in having routines. You just want something different, something new or something.
routines actually really do get to me. At some point, I just plateau. Except I introduce something new.
Yeah.
I could just plateau routines. But thinking about it, and sometimes it might not be with everything. They gave examples of maybe like chores or stuff. Well, the routine I try to keep up is sleep by 9 p.m. every day. Yeah.
What a routine. Okay, so at this point, we just take our recipe. Yes, we take our recipe for the day. Homemade prawn crackers, and I'm wondering,
Whatever made snails bear prawns.
prawns.
Yeah.
But prawns are very spicy. You know, when I saw the prawn, I was like, who even has money to be buying prawn at this time? You know, prawns are very expensive. You could have just a few fingerlings. They are telling you 500 or 1,000.
Yeah.
So you
Well,
just
some
have to
people
be.
can actually afford it. Another thing, when you talk about having gardens or like a small farm behind your house, people, when we're growing up, these are things we used to do: pick snails, keep them for about 2, 3 weeks, and they'll grow into sizes that you can use and cook. So what stops us from having those environments? I don't even know if climate change is also affecting how much snails we see around us,
No,
but
it's not affecting, but I think what's affecting you seeing snails is the fact that the kind of houses we live in these days,
yeah.
where you have interlockings everywhere, so it doesn't give the opportunity for snails to breed.
Mm.
But if you had like, you know, a garden behind you,
Let's try
you
and
could
pick
just,
snails.
you know, pop up and pick snails or something. And we could have it around the Ibiako run. You never can tell. It's
We
just for
should
you
check
to,
that out.
it's just for you to have the nerves to go into the bushes to check out for snails so you can have a homemade prawn
Yeah.
crackers
It's
meal.
actually a nice meal once
Yeah,
you
of
have it
course,
like
yes.
all well spiced up. Okay, so let's take our quote of today. The most powerful weapon on earth is the human soul on fire. Ferdinand Forge. The most powerful weapon on earth is the human soul on fire. That soul cannot be withstood. That soul cannot be hindered. A soul on fire can literally get anything done.
Yeah.
The best person to send on an errand is a person who gets the details of, you know, what you want to get them do. So communicate your purpose to them in a way that sets them on fire enough for them to run, and
then still talking about soul on fire, I think I was telling somebody the other day, when we talk about depression, it means that your soul, your fire, the fire in your soul has dimmed and dimmed and dimmed
you need some
until it
rekindling.
has dimmed out totally, and then you just need some rekindling. So I think that as our take home today, let's not just let our fire die. Just keep whatever fuels it. Just keep on fueling, keep on fueling. Of course, we have so many things that
if the routine has gotten to the fire in your soul, try something new.
Yeah, definitely fuel it with some new things or something
Yeah.
around.
Yeah.
Okay, so that's where we have to wrap up this conversation for today. Thank you so much for being a part of our broadcast today, and we hope to see you again tomorrow. And for everyone that joined us on social media, thank you so much. We love you. Let's keep building that community, and we'll be back here again tomorrow. My name is Janice Cobham. Do have a fantastic day.
My name is Yannick, and thanks for joining us, and do enjoy the rest of your day and the rest of our programming. Thank you. Bye-bye.